Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WWE News and Rumors. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Hodge. This video is brought to you by SeatGeek. If you guys are looking for tickets for any event in the entire world, just use my last name, code Hodge, and save yourselves $20 freaking. Alright guys, so we're gonna go ahead and kick this off with the first nothing news story. So there's no confirmed news stories today. Because sometimes you get to this point where it's just all rumors, and that's completely fine. But we're just gonna go ahead and do it. So let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, go and get your juice boxes out. Get your juice box ready because it is now time to talk about some juicy rumors. So the first rumor is about WWE's Banned Words. So Vince McMahon, the owner of WWE, he sometimes bans words from being said on air for whatever reason. Sometimes he's smart about it. Like you can't say like the word, like anything like sensitive, right? You can't. I mean, still, I like the old school mentality that wrestling has no limits. You can say anything, you can do anything, and no one can do a damn thing about it because that's what wrestling is about. I like that idea. But see, Vince has these sponsors, and he has these investors and stuff like that he doesn't want to upset anybody. So pretty much anything offensive is not be allowed to say on TV anymore. Here's just for example. You guys can look this up if you guys want to know. He's very, very weird. He owns this wrestling company, but he bans the word wrestling. He bans the word wrestler because he wants wrestling to be referred to as sports entertainment, which I don't like. I don't like the wrestlers. This is pro wrestling. This is not sports entertainment. They're not entertain. They're wrestlers. I mean, they are entertainers, but they're wrestlers. Okay, let's not just beat around the main thing. Apparently, the W in WWE no longer stands for World Wrestling Entertainment. It stands for We're Not Wrestling Entertainment, I guess. So anyway, here's some banned words for you guys. So you cannot say the word choke. You can't say choke. So I don't know how that works if they do like a chokehold or they do a choke slam or something. You can't say the word choke apparently now. You cannot say the word headshot because that could be like a murder or something. Speaking of murder, you cannot say the word murder. You cannot say the word victim. Obviously, you can't say wrestling or wrestlers. You can't say kill. You can't say kill. You can't say murder. You can't say murderer. You can't say anything offensive. Like anything your mind goes to offensive. Pretty much anything that comes on the show. Any of those very offensive shows like South Park, you can't say any of those words. You can't do in those situations or anything because it might upset someone. It might upset an advertiser or investor. Vince is more worried about upsetting someone than he is about keeping numbers and keeping things new, fresh, edgy, and very, very entertaining. So we'll see how it goes, how it works out. And on the other side of the coin, there's a new wrestling company called All Elite Wrestling AEW, which basically just doesn't care, and it's how wrestling's always been and how wrestling should be, and that's why they're kind of getting a little bit even more of a foot up on WWE because they're actually willing to push the limits and be like, this is what pro wrestling is. But Vince keeps banning words that don't really matter. Alright, the next rumor is about Kevin Owens. So there's been a little bit of a question about Kevin Owens. When's his WWE contract coming up? Someone said he just signed a 5-year extension, so he's stuck for a little while longer, but apparently the 5-year extension he signed was almost 5 years ago. So the update to Kevin Owens' contract, if you guys have been keeping up with the new show, he's been teasing about leaving and maybe going and joining up, with Adam Cole and the Young Bucks again. So Kevin Owens' contract actually ends on January 31st. So some people who just had some backstage connections at WWE, they did some digging and they found out Kevin Owens' contract does indeed end January 31st, 2022. Now 2022 sounds far away, kind of far away, but you have to realize we're almost mid-September now, so it's really, really not that far away at all. So we'll see how it goes, but WWE can't do anything if he doesn't want to resign. So we'll see if Kevin Owens is going to be a WWE superstar, not a wrestler, a superstar for much longer. Alright, the next rumor is about Mr. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. So the Fiend is officially dead, I guess, because you can't do the Fiend in any other wrestling company. So Bray Wyatt was released by the WWE a few months ago, if you guys didn't hear. He was pretty much, let's not beat around the bushes, this is another WWE thing, but they use these words and they're not really using the proper words. Release, yeah, sure, the contract was released or whatever, the contract was terminated. The guy was terminated. The guy was fired from his job as a wrestler for the WWE. Not for any given reason, just they wanted to do, really, I don't even know the reason to this day. It's so confusing because he was the top merch seller, he was the top wrestler. He wasn't actively on TV. He had some personal issues he was going through, as well as some injuries and creative things and everything that goes along with being a wrestler, but they just went ahead and fired the guy. Which, if I'm Bray Wyatt, I'm never going back to WWE because that is totally messed up to do to someone, especially in a situation like he was in. So Bray Wyatt, there's rumors, of course, AEW. I've heard some ramblings of him going to Impact. Personally, I hope he's not going to Impact, but if they get a big name like Bray Wyatt, I mean, eyeballs are going to go to Impact and kind of watch the show more than they have in the past few years or whatever. But basically, I want Bray Wyatt in AEW. And this is AEW rumors. So September 29th. AEW is going to be in, I believe it's Rochester, New York, I believe this is the city, and that's actually the hometown of the late, great Mr. Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper, of course. He passed away this past December, which is still shocking, but that was one of Bray Wyatt's best friends, of course. They were in the Wyatt family together, but just to make things special and to have that special feel, there's a rumor that Bray may be debuting in AEW while they're in Rochester, September 29th, but that is just a rumor, and we will have to wait and see on that. All right, the next rumor is about Brock Lesnar's match at WrestleMania 38. So, they're kind of pushing for Brock versus Roman now. It feels like Brock versus Roman Reigns for the championship now, which is confusing because everyone's like, shouldn't it be like the match for WrestleMania unless The Rock's coming back or something? So as for Roman's opponent, I don't know. That's not what this is about. But apparently Brock's opponent is not going to be Roman at WrestleMania 38. Brock's opponent, they're actually kind of pushing Brock to work with a new talent that they literally just signed. And I don't know why this new talent they just signed would be on WrestleMania. I get it's a big name. I get he's a gold medalist or whatever. I'm talking about Gable Stevenson. Hopefully I'm saying his freaking name right. But basically he's a gold medalist. And they just signed him to WWE. The guy, correct me if I'm wrong, he's an Olympic style, wrestler. He's not a professional, pro wrestler. It's just weird because that's called professional wrestling. But anyway, he's not trained to work, okay? He's not trained to be a WWE kind of wrestler. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can train this guy that soon because WrestleMania's not even that far away. So we'll just have to wait and see. But apparently they're wanting to put him with Brock, and Brock can maybe help the guy out or something like that. That's a very, very high-profile match for someone they just signed. But then again, he's a very high-profile guy. So we'll just have to wait and see. There's rumor right now saying Brock Lesnar versus Gable Stevenson may be happening at WrestleMania 38. We'll just have to wait and see on that. All right, the next rumor is about our brand new WWE Champion, Big E. So Big E is a brand new WWE Champion. I guess it goes without saying. The guy is on Raw now, so New Day are back together. He's no longer a SmackDown superstar, of course, not a wrestler. But Big E, apparently his cash-in was moved up. And the reason they moved up, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, apparently he was not supposed to cash in until the draft Raw, but they've decided to go ahead and let him cash in even though he's not a Raw wrestler. They were going to wait until he was drafted to Raw and then let him cash in after he was already drafted to Raw, so it would have made more sense having a SmackDown wrestler cash in on Monday Night Raw. But I guess if you're Mr. Money, they can go anywhere. But I believe half the time they just change the rules on this kind of stuff. But basically, Big E's cash-in was moved up. And the reason for this is AEW actually beat Raw last week in the ratings, and Raw WWE wanted to combat that. I mean, I don't guess it was overall ratings, but it was like the target ratings of the target audience they were trying to reach that AEW actually did better in that field or whatever. Obviously, different day. But yeah, that's apparently the deal there. That's the rumor. Big E's cash-in was moved up actually because of AEW. Alright, this is the final news story. This is the final rumor. This is the final thing I'll be talking about inside this episode of WWE News Rumors. This is actually about the best in the world, CM Punk. Okay, so CM Punk. CM Punk is all elite. He's an all elite wrestler, which is crazy. CM Punk's a freaking wrestler again after 7 years of retirement. If you want to call that retirement, I mean, it pretty much was. The guy wasn't, wrestling or whatever. Hiatus. Let's call it a hiatus. A 7-year hiatus. The guy's back. He's a wrestler, and it's just freaking wonderful. But there's been some questions why they show up in AEW and not WWE. Obviously, there's some personal reasons, and he's a lot better off in AEW, and I believe he's a lot happier in AEW than it would be in the current environment at the WWE. But apparently, Fox heard some rumors that CM Punk was looking at maybe wrestling again, and Fox reached out to the WWE and asked, hey, CM Punk, we really want this guy on SmackDown. What can we do to sign this guy? We'll even pay a little bit of our own money. We'll help you guys pay CM Punk. If he's wanting too much money, let us know what the deal is. And apparently, WWE got back to Fox and said CM Punk sent them $1 offer of how much he would want, and it is just way another planet different. Now, my personal opinion on this, I don't think CM Punk was actually just wanting too much money. I just think he was wanting to be like, pay the richest man in the world to have to be to the place that, made him sick, that kind of what he's been saying. He didn't want to be in WWE, and if he had to be in WWE, it's going to have to be like a ridiculous amount of money, which he knows they're not going to pay. So he kind of just gave them like a ridiculous number just so that they would kind of leave him alone. So that's my idea about that. But apparently CM Punk did give WWE a number, and Fox and WWE had an interaction about wanting CM Punk on SmackDown. But obviously, that's not possible now because CM Punk is All Elite Wrestling. So there, guys, that's actually going to do it for this episode of WWE News Rumors. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Right now on screen, I will leave a link to 2 previous videos for you guys to check out, as well as a button to subscribe to this channel if you're brand new here. But I am Brandon Hodge, and I will see you guys in the next video.